So we talk about a lot of wins on this show, but we rarely talk about mistakes that we've made. So I wanted to break down kind of what's going on currently with my condo sale.
This one guy, like, this is a classic for all your men out there, or not even just men, just people that don't feel like some people just don't listen. This is a good one.
No.
Yes,
not.
it is. Yes, it is. I don't think you should do that.
So this is what happened. And it's going to work out, but this is what happened. So
We'll
I've
see.
learned a lot.
We'll see.
I am currently selling my condo off market to somebody that I know, somebody that they know, right? So basically, like, the other realtor, I know her very well, and this is someone that is related to her. And so they wanted to buy it. I gave them a good deal because it's off market. I don't have to mess with it. I literally, I want to 1031 it, right? So he's getting a traditional loan. We're 2 weeks in. I go find another place.
Let's explain what a 1031 is, because I think that's what it is. 1031 means that she can take all the proceeds and invest it in something else without paying tax. Has to be at or more what she's selling for. So, and by the way, this is a strategy that for those of you may know what that is, but I just figured it's worth mentioning. So, So Danille is trying to avoid tax, and therefore, okay, keep going.
So I went and I found a great 1031. So I put an offer on this place. I'm supposed to close in like a month. Got a great deal on that one.
Well, first of all, let's back up one, because I'm going to throw a curveball at you, because you came to me with a deal before that.
I did. Yep.
And we got into a little bit of an argument.
Mm-hmm.
I go, I don't think you should buy that. And she, of course, was emotionally invested because of the tax.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
I felt rushed.
So I put my foot down and said, listen, you go ahead, but this is not a good area. And I think you can buy something and get more rent somewhere else. And she went to bed really upset at me, but she woke up fine.
Yep. I thought about it and I was like, you're right. So because when you're doing a 1031, it's stressful because you have 45 days from the closing of one property to identify the one you want to buy. Now you can identify up to 3, but you have to basically pick the ones you want to buy. And if that doesn't work out, then you have to pay the tax, which is a high tax burden.
Right. And
so
I
there's
think that's
stress.
Worth mentioning. That's worth mentioning. And that's why I wanted to bring that one up, because she felt the tax burden rushing the next decision.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys all have felt that way before, but it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's honest, and it's exactly what was happening with you.
Yep. Absolutely. And so then, I listened to Ken. I was like, you're right. This deal, while it works financially because I have all this money rolling over, it's not a great investment. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, relax on the sidelines, like wait till this deal closes, but I'm still going to look. Well, then this one pops up, super underpriced, much better return on investment, like 33% more of a return than this other property.
Way better
for
location.
like, 70 grand more, right? So way better location. So I'm like, okay, so I make this offer the day it lists, because, you have to do that. Multiple offers, I get it. Okay. So I'm like, great. So I do the inspection. Everything's going well. The guy messages me on my condo and he says, hey, I want to do some upgrades to this. Do you mind if I start these while
I'm like, no,
before we close?
Don't
and I'm
do
like,
it.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah,
because in my mind, I'm like, okay, he's obviously going to close. It closes in 10 days. I know the realtor representing him, like she's vouching for him. And, why wouldn't I want to make someone's life easier?
Here's what I'm thinking. Hey, I'm going to rip apart your kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't own the place yet. You do, but I'm going to rip apart your kitchen. Is that okay?
Yeah. And so
she's like, no problem.
So I said, sure.
And now a word from my paid sponsor, Pad Split. Look, if you've been trying to make single-family rentals pencil out in this market, you already know that the math can be tight. With high rates, properties that would have cash flowed 5 years ago now often break even at best. So what do? You wait on the sidelines and miss out, or maybe you find a better model? That's why I want to talk about today's sponsor, Pad Split. Here's an example of the math in some markets. A 4-bedroom renting for $2,700 as a traditional rental may be able to gross over $6,000 a month in a co-living setup through Pad Split, depending on location, occupancy, and costs. The same house can potentially more than double the gross revenue in the right market. And before you think, that sounds like a headache, Pad Split helps with member screening and rent collection while still allowing you to operate the property and make management decisions. This is one strategy investors use to try to make deals work when traditional rentals don't pencil. If you want to see the numbers for yourself, go to padsplit.com/hosts. I'll have a link in the description. Just run the math on the property you already own and see if it's a fit. You might be surprised.
So then I'm like, okay, so everything's going well, whatever. So that was probably on a Friday. So let's call it the next Friday. I get a text where he's like, so I don't want to close on the deal.
And of course, guys, meltdown time.
I did.
It was pretty darn close to a
not
meltdown. Babe. Melt.
So I
down.
drove.
It's 2 words.
So I drove down to my condo, which I hadn't been to for a long time. And I'm looking around. And honestly, the work was like 75% done. Like, honestly.
What if it was just demolished?
Well, that would have been bad.
Then it would have been meltdown 2.0.
So yeah, that would have been bad if it was just demolished. It was like 75% done, and it looked good. You know,
the guy actually, you're lucky that they painted the place and done the cabinets and they
painted the place, they painted the cabinets, they put in new baseboards, they took down the popcorn ceiling.
Yep. They did some work and it actually looked okay. But the chance of that happening, that was luck.
I know. It was luck, and it was a lesson that I learned. But so anyway, so he says to me, what I want you to do is pay me for the work I did. I'm going to finish the work and then pay me for the work I did.
And I want my deposit back.
I want my deposit back. And then you can sell it now for more because I've redone it. And then so when you sell it, you can just pay me. When I sell it, you can just pay me.
So Danille says yes.
No, I didn't say yes. I said, let me think about it. Because mind you, I'm blindsided, okay? So I have no time to think.
She came home, and I'm like, wait a second.
Well, so
now let me just get this straight. You're giving him his money back, and he's ripped up your place, and it's 75% done. How does that benefit you at all? Plus, what about your 1031?
Correct. So I slept on. So I did the math because I did not tell him yes. I told him, let me think about it because I was fully overwhelmed. So I started to think about it, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense for me because right now I have a tax issue. But he said, baking that in, I was still going to make money. I'm like, but if I sell it for more, I have an even bigger tax issue. And now I'm going through all this work to just try to make the low amount that I was selling it to you for to keep it easy for myself, right? So I'm like, I'm like in this whole thing. So what I agreed with him is I was like, listen, if you finish the work, I will give you your deposit back. I'm not signing anything until you finish the work. So he was like, fine. So he agreed because I think we have this mutual connection. So he agreed to finish the work. And actually they did finish the work yesterday. So, because it really was not, it was almost done. So they finished the work yesterday. Mind you, I now have my other purchase that I don't want to let go, but now I don't have as much money to put down on it. So now I'm trying to work with the lender to kind of figure all that out. So there's all this cluster going on. So then he comes back to me last night.
How do you reduce cluster? Don't do that.
Don't do that. So then he comes back to me last night, and now he might still want to go through with the sale, which he hasn't signed to cancel the loan. So there's nothing I can do at this point either way. But I'm like, okay, well, if you want to.
But he did notify title.
He notified title, but he didn't notify his lender.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so.
We will see.
So we are going to TBD on this. But the things that I have learned are a couple things. One, obviously.
Listen to Ken.
Do not let anyone start tearing up anything they haven't closed on, even if you know that. Like, I never would have done this if it was some random person buying it, okay? It's because it was a relative of somebody I knew.
They're all random people buying it.
Correct. They're all random people buying it is what I learned.
So.
But then secondly, when you go to make an offer on the new property, you probably shouldn't do that until the old one is closed. I mean, you can.
Or pretty close, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that I would have done differently. The first one is I would have asked him to increase his deposit before the there are ways to mitigate this, to be clear. So if somebody wants to come in and do some work before you close, you're like, well, you only had $3,000 up. I'm like, okay, you need 20 grand up, or 25 grand up, because and that way it's non-refundable, right? And it would have gotten released. I would have had it released because it's at this point he's got $3,000 refundable, right? So that's one piece. It's okay to do this sometimes, guys. Like I just want to say there's steps that you can make. But you got to have that money set aside. It needs to be in a contract somehow. It needs to be in an addendum saying if the buyer doesn't close, then everything that's done, that they need to complete it, and there needs to be penalties and all that kind of stuff. So you can't just let somebody walk in there and start the work. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you had this 1031, which was completely predicated on all this stuff. And that now you're at risk, right? And so you've done a lot of work. And by the way, this place that she's buying, spectacular. Great deal. The rents are $1,000 more than the other place that she was looking at, and it only cost her $70,000 more. So I think there's just all these little things. To your point, you don't always have to wait. You don't have to close one to do another, because that now you kind of do feel rushed. But I do think it's fine to have them in unison. You just can't be so committed on the one, right? Predicated on the other. That's all. So we typically usually have 3 identified while we're closing on one, and we're usually working on multiple. And what happens is a lot of times, because you can identify up to 3 in the first 45 days, you should be working on all 3, right? And then now you've got 3 options, and it gives you the greatest degree of flexibility. And then you should never, on a 1031, put yourself in a position where you're losing deposits or losing time or losing money or anything else. So those are the 2 lessons, having done this a fair amount.
Yeah, and I would say too that I don't want to throw this buyer under the bus completely, because he is doing the right thing. Like, he is finishing the work. So
He's partially under the bus.
Yeah, so things do happen. You know what I mean? Things do happen where people can't close. I mean, if he wouldn't have closed on this one, there's a chance that I can't close on the next one, and that doesn't mean that I'm doing the wrong thing either. Yeah. The predicament comes in that I allowed him to start on the work, but he is
everything.
But he is finishing the work. So I mean, it worked out for me.
Yeah,
I lucked out, because either it doesn't close and I just get an upgraded place, or it does close and everything goes as it's supposed to. But at the end of the day, I have learned, and I will learn with my clients, that no matter, even if it's their brother buying the place, he should not start renovations until it's closed.
Yeah. Put the money up, contract it, put it in an addendum. The other thing, one of the things she got lucky here is that they didn't have to dig into electrical or plumbing or anything like that. You guys this is a big one too. Especially if they hire a contractor that's a friend, or maybe it's them and they're not licensed, and there's all these other things that can happen. So especially if, luckily in this case, it's all cosmetic, right? It's basically paint, popcorn ceiling, and some light flooring stuff. But it could get way worse if you're in this situation. Just know everything needs to be buttoned up. There needs to be consequence of the buyer if they don't perform the renovation and, of course, the close. And there needs to be money, real money. You can't be chasing them the title later. You don't want this dispute. It needs to be really, really clear.
Yeah, and I mean, this kind of stuff does come up a lot. I'm
glad you brought it up. This is a good lesson for everybody, and thanks for I mean, that's kind of the point of this channel, is to throw these kinds of lessons out there for you guys, and hopefully you learned a little bit.
Yeah, and not everything always goes so smooth all of the time.
Actually,
ever.
I would say.
Ever. But but at the end of the day, it is a learning lesson, and it's just part of being a small landlord and just learning as you go.
You learn as you go. And there's one sentence I would just say: you just need to listen.
I do listen sometimes, but you're not always right.
Sometimes, you're not always right.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
See you guys.